What's up, man? How's it going? It's been like 5 years since we've had you on. It's great to see you, man. How's everything going?
Everything's going good. A little slower than usual, but what the hell?
Well, yeah. Well, obviously we're going to talk about you and your brother and the Dio tribute video coming up. But what else have you been up to these last few months? It's been
Well, we're
crazy.
doing. We started finishing working on the third album for Last in Line, and we're about halfway through. And then we, came across this, and we're at a standstill a little bit. So we're starting up on that again, and hopefully we'll get this thing finished in probably 2 months. And things will get back to normal toward the end of the year. So see what happens.
That is definitely the hope. Of course, Heavy Crown was the first one. Then you had the follow up, both produced, I think, by Jeff Pilson, good friend of ours. And is Jeff going to be involved in this one as well, or what's going on
No,
with that?
actually, because the last one we kind of co-produced it, us
Right.
and Jeff, and then this one's just going to be us, pretty much.
Sweet.
But it sounds great. Yeah, some great stuff on it. So
Well,
so good.
excellent. I mean, the albums are so uniquely different, is what I love about kind of comparing the two. They're very different, and it's just amazing that this entity has become what it is. Andrew Freeman on vocals, and we've talked to Vivian Campbell about it before, and you try to get a Dio clone for this
No.
band, and Andrew Freeman is so perfect and just such a great vocalist in his own right. And you add Phil Soussan to the mix, you guys are really hitting on all cylinders right now, I think.
Yeah, because when we started this thing, it was, we were looking for a singer. People heard about it, so I was getting emails from a lot of singers going, "Hey, I sound just like Ronnie," and sending tapes, MP3s and stuff. And that's what we really didn't want. That actually, when Andrew came down, we knew he was the guy. He came down just to jam with us, and because he's a good friend, and we just went, "That's it," But if we were looking, we wouldn't look for somebody that wants to be Ronnie, because there's only one Ronnie. Just somebody sings good,
And it's unbelievable as we sit here that we're just at the time that this actually airs, it'll be right on the date of Ronnie, to the 10-year anniversary of Ronnie's passing, May 16th, 2010.
Yeah.
And you and your brother have teamed up, and I guess with Paul Shortino, who's written the lyrics. Talk
Right.
about this new tribute video that you and Carmine have worked on, and we're all kind of awaiting to see what it is. What can people kind of expect from this? Like I said, Paul Shortino doing the lyrics, and just talk about what this is going to be. We're excited to see it.
In 2016, 17, Carmine and I released, or was it 18?
17.
17, Carmine and I released an album together that we worked on, and it's really good. It's called Sinister. Good album, and it's the first album we've done together, full album. So on that album was a song called Monsters and Heroes that Carmine had, and they were going to use it for King Cobra. But since they didn't use it, Carmine played it for me, and I said, "It's a great song. Let's do it ourselves." So the lyrics are written by Paul Shortino, and they're all about Ronnie. It's like a tribute to Ronnie. So I went ahead and we edited the drum parts, and then this way I could put my drum parts in, and this parts are where I play alone, he plays alone, and we're together. So it's called Monsters and Heroes, and it is a great song, and we played it live. And then the other day we were talking, Carmine and I, about doing a video, maybe releasing one of these virus videos, as you see.
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." I said, "Well, let's do Monsters and Heroes. It's kind of the single of the album." And then the next day I realized, oh, wait a minute, Ronnie's anniversary is coming up. How cool is that when we're going to do the song about Ronnie? So that's, the light bulb went off, and let's just promote it and have a nice tribute for Ronnie on the 16th, which is his 10-year anniversary, So the video is pretty much finished. It looks great, and we're playing live. Not all at once, but live in each individual location. But it came out great. We're really excited about it. So it'll be a nice tribute.
Cannot wait to see it, and especially 10 years. It's unbelievable how fast time goes, and I think back to where I was when I heard the news, and you worked with Ronnie in so many various incarnations and Sabbath. You were there at the genesis of Dio. You were there at the end. I mean, just talk about Ronnie as a person. Everyone knows how talented and wonderful vocalist he was. Just talk about him as a person. I've never heard a coarse word ever said about Ronnie. You knew him as well as anyone. Just kind of talk about him as a person and how these 10 years, have gone for you and kind of remembering your friend.
Well, Ronnie was just very down to earth, very, very, very nice to people. When he met people, when he met fans, and you told him your name, you could see him a year or two later, he'll remember your name. Wow. Unlike me, who forgets right away. Not on purpose. It's just the way it is. Ronnie remembers everybody's name, and it made a point of taking care of his fans. On the first Holy Diver tour we did, we were playing in England and London, actually, at the Hammersmith. And after the show, we're hanging out upstairs. We never left the shows very early. We usually partied a little bit in the dressing room and stuff. And then after we all dried off, we're partying a little bit, they said, Ronnie, there's like 50 kids downstairs waiting for autographs. They're outside, and it's cold. It's January. So Ronnie said, bring them inside the theater. So they brought all these kids in the front row seats, all the fans, and we all went down and signed everything and took pictures for them. And Ronnie loved doing that stuff. It was before the days of paying for a VIP, and so it was really cool. So he always took care of his fans, and he's down to earth, very down to earth. We had a lot of things in common. Like we both like to fix things around the house and plumbing, electrical, whatever. The number of times Ronnie and I went to Home Depot and bought stuff, and I helped him. I'm really into that stuff. I'm into fixing everything, cars, everything. I'd go over his house, we'd fix whatever, and it was cool. So he's very down to earth, and musically, great ideas, always had ideas, and very easy to work with,
Well, let's talk about how important those last 4 years of Ronnie's life were together with Heaven and Hell, to be able to reform and do that, and to have had an album come out called The Devil You Know, to have the live at Radio City, and to do the things that you did, the tours you did. How important was that to be able to have done that? And that really was the very end of Ronnie's life, culminated sort of with that band, Heaven and Hell. Just how important was that for you guys?
Well, we started up, first Bill Ward was involved in the project. They were releasing, Rhino Records wanted to release Dio Years, an album of Black Sabbath songs with Ronnie. And then they suggested it'd be great if you guys wrote another couple songs. So they started doing that. And I wasn't involved. It was Bill Ward, but it was taking so long and spending a lot of money. And eventually it didn't work out with Bill. And they said, let's get Vinny, and I went in and we did it, we're fast when we work together. And so that's how I got involved in it again. And that's the first time, I played with Ronnie in a while, maybe 6 years or something, and Tony and Geezer, So we all hit it off again. It just like picked it up where it left off last time. And so we started doing that. Then it was like, let's do a tour. Okay, did the tour. And Ronnie was really proud because the band was really tight. And we were really playing really well together. It was really powerful. And we were all getting along great. There was no issues. And that's why that led to an album, The Devil You Know. We did that, and then there was another tour planned. And so he was very, very proud to be back in that band. And with all of us, we were all really good friends. And we were like the second version of Black Sabbath that really, took it a little further. And so it was a nice time in Ronnie's life. He was happy, he was singing, and then then toward the end, we were scheduled to go out in the summer, but January before the summer of 2010, he started feeling the sickness and having to get treatment and all that. So that put the stop sign came up. Couldn't do it. So. It's kind of sad.
It was so tremendous though to be able to. I saw that I think in '08, the Metal Masters tour in Hartford, and what a just wonderful thing it was for, I think, a generation of fans. That there's still a segment of people that don't quite associate Dio, yourself, with Sabbath for whatever reason, because everybody, Ozzy Osbourne, original singers, obviously, but to introduce that later on in Ronnie's life to a new generation of fans, that had to be amazing as well. And the shows were tremendous. Like you said, you guys were so tight. It was
that was a
so
killer
great.
bill. Us, Judas Priest, Heaven and Hell, Motorhead, and Testament.
Yeah.
Can't beat that. That's a great show.
Well, I mean, you guys have done so much together, and as we also, we're in an age of anniversaries. Everything's an anniversary now, and so we're actually heading towards the 37th anniversary of Holy Diver. How about that? Just in a couple weeks here. So, take me back to the genesis of that, because you guys are coming off of the Mob Rules album in Sabbath, and riding a solid wave of momentum. You do the live album, and then kind of zig when people maybe think you're going to zag, and you form this band because it was a band. The original Dio, the album Holy Diver, you guys were a band and so tight knit. Vivian Campbell, Jimmy Bain, yourself. Just kind of take us through that, the antithesis of that, the genesis of the Dio band, and kind of the recording of Holy Diver, and how important it's been.
We started with just Ronnie and I. Ronnie decided the Sabbath thing had some problems, and Ronnie wanted to leave, so I left with him, and he said he wants to form a band. I said great, because he always had a record deal from Warner Brothers in the pocket on the side of Sabbath. He was going to do a solo record with friends, and then continue with Sabbath, but things turned and changed, and he decided I'll use that record deal, put a band together, and launch my own band, And so it was just him and I, and we'd go in a rehearsal place, and this is in Los Angeles, and we'd play. Ronnie was on bass and singing a little bit, and I was just playing the drums. And we actually had Holy Diver, parts of Holy Diver. That's what we'd jam on. And we'd kind of arrange it, but we had no guitar. Sometimes he'd play the guitar, but mainly it was the bass. And then we auditioned some guitar players, and it didn't really, nothing hit. We even auditioned Jake E. Lee, and Jake was great, but Ronnie started figuring that he wanted a European flavor to the band, like get some musicians from Europe, because Rainbow was like he was in a band with Europeans, and then Sabbath was England, so he was always associated with bands from musicians from overseas. So we flew to England, and he called Jimmy Bain, and Jimmy came back a day or two after we got there, and he said, I got this guitar player, Vivian Campbell. He's in Ireland, and he's amazing. So Jimmy called Viv. We made arrangements to get together in London at the rehearsal studios to have a jam, and we did that, and it was just like magical. It just sounded so good, and Viv was phenomenal. He still is. And that was the band. So then we went home, and then about a month later, Viv and Jimmy came to the U.S., and that's when we started writing and rehearsing at Sound City in the studios from the Dave Grohl movie. And we stayed there, and we wrote 4 songs. And right across the street in the parking lot was the recording studio. So you had rehearsal here and recording across the parking lot. And we just drag all the gear over to the recording when we had 4 songs, and we go in and record 4 songs for Holy Diver. Then when we were done, we brought everything back to the rehearsal room and wrote 4 more songs. And we just went nuts at that place. It was a great time. Everybody was happy. We were all crazy. Smoked a lot of pot on that album. And it was just a really good time in our careers. And that's why the album reflects that, But we didn't know it was going to be a classic record. We didn't know. We thought we were doing a good job, and it's just, we're doing the best we can, and it's going to be a good album. But now, 37 years later, it's like still out there and considered one of rock's classic heavy rock albums, but we were just having a great time, and shows on the shows in the music, you know. So that's how we got that together.
Well, it is absolutely tremendous. 37 years, it's unbelievable. But kind of talk about how important maybe that Last in Line is for Vivian. Obviously, he and Ronnie didn't always see eye to eye on things, and things kind of went off the rails a bit. But we've had Vivian on this show, and he talks about how it's kind of been therapeutic for him and to relive this, and just talk about the Last in Line, and not only for Vivian but for yourself to be able to just sort of immerse in this world, but yet also be creative. What's it been like with?
Well, the Last in Line just started. I would see Viv after we broke up, and he was in Def Leppard. I'd see him here and there, you know, Viv, and then he called up one day. He said, "Hey, I called Jimmy, and we're up for a jam. You want to jam one day? Play some of the old stuff. It would be funny." I said, "Yeah, that would be great." So that's how we started, just the three of us, and we had a good time. And we decided, let's do it again next week. And the next week, my friend Andy Freeman was in town. I invited him down, and he came down and started singing these songs, and it blew everybody away. Wow, this sounds great. We're having such a good time. Why don't we do some gigs? So it started from there. And I think for Viv, it gets back to where he came from with the way he played. You know, I mean, Def Leppard's great, but it's a different style of music. And there's two guitar players in Def Leppard. Here, he's doing all the heavy lifting, as he would say. You know, he's playing the guitar, he's playing the solos, and the music's a little bit more complicated. And so I think it brought him back more into his roots, and he really enjoys playing it, you know. And we enjoy playing together. I mean, I play kind of crazy, and I could see when I'm playing, I go off and do some crazy fill. I could see Viv smiling, you know, like, "Oh shit, where's one?" But and I just love listening to him play. He's just a monster, such a monster, such a sound and signature player, you know. It's just amazing. And he plugs right into the amp. There's no pedal. There's a wah-wah pedal and then into the amp, and he gets this fattest sound that you'll ever hear on the guitar. And it's amazing. And the band's just great. Now, we started with Jimmy. He passed away.
Mm-hmm.
We got Phil Soussan, who played with Ozzy, and he was like from the same era, a good friend of both Viv and I. And then Andy Freeman, who's just an amazing new singer, you know. And we all get along, and it's a great band. It's a lot of fun. So I love playing this stuff. I love the old stuff and the new stuff we're doing too.
Yeah, Vivian always says that he's glad to be able to play some angry rock again, and that is certainly the case. And for you, I mean, Vinny, your style, you've been renowned your whole life as one of the heaviest hitters in hard rock history. And kind of where does that come from? Obviously, you grow up in kind of a different family. I mean, your brother grows up, and I mean, he's hits with Rod Stewart, a tremendous drummer, of course, and then yourself. You guys are vastly different as players, but yet both so proficient. I mean, your style is heavy and it hits so hard. Where did that come from?
Well, I listened to Carmine, obviously. I listened to a lot of people growing up, and then I just really liked heavy music and loud. And I grew up in Brooklyn, so it was kind of a tough, not a tough neighborhood, but all Brooklyn was kind of tough. I didn't grow up in the country where, hey, let's go pick some flowers or something. I grew up, I go out my door, there's all brick and concrete everywhere, a couple of trees, that was it. So that gave me more of an aggressive attitude. And then I watched Carmine play, and I just started a fire in me, And then back in 1976, I played with Rick Derringer.
Yeah.
And I decided, I'm going to start playing really hard, but with dynamics, not I've seen a lot of drummers play and they hit hard, but it doesn't change. Every song, the snare drum's the same level. You lose the feel and the soul, So I wanted to develop my power like way up here. Like I can really make these drums sing, and then I can go down from there and bring it up and down. It's dynamics, the most important thing. So I kept playing like that, and I really developed my stamina and my power to have be loud but tasteful. So that's what I did, and I play with the butt end of the sticks, which gives me an extra heft to the sound. And now, it's loud, but I'm not even using my arms. It's all in the wrist, snapping, hitting those drums, rim shots. So I've developed, kind of a sound of my own, and it's powerful. So that's all right with me.
Yeah, I don't want this question to come off as smart ass in any way, but does it become more difficult with age?
Not really. I'm not feeling too much of it now. I'm actually more efficient than I was younger. I'm using more arms and speed and this and that. Now, I'm using the energy. I'm able to get that sound without putting out as much energy. I might slow down a little bit, but like I was just practicing in the other room on the drum pad with this virus thing going on. So let me set my drum pad up and get out my old drum books. So I'm there doing it, working on my left hand. But you feel it a little more. You got to warm up a little more when you get older and stuff, and stretch a little. And but other than that, I don't have any problems. There's no back problems. Knock on wood. There's nothing. I can't hear anymore from playing so loud. But that's what the hell. I get closed caption in the world.
Yeah, I think we're all there at this point, as fans or as musicians ourselves. It's it sort of goes after a while. Obviously, we're so looking forward to this tribute video, and I can't wait for that. The details are going to be announced shortly on that. It's here we are. So it's the 10-year anniversary of Ronnie's death, and we're all just thinking about him in reverence. Vinny, before we let you go, we got to do, and I'm kind of intimidated to do this with you. It's our final four drum roll is what we call it, and we're doing it with the ultimate hard rock drummer here. So here we go. Final four. It's four quick questions, and you just kind of give us whatever comes to mind. Okay.
Uh-oh.
It's easy, I promise. So what shows, Netflix shows, if any, have you been binging during the virus here?
Right now I'm watching The Arrow, which is good, but it's so many episodes, man. I'm still in season 1, and it's like episode 20 something. I go, holy, that's insane. And I watched Ozarks. That was good. I can't even remember what was before that one. But yeah, it's the only time I've actually had time to sit down and watch some of these things. We watched the whole thing of Ozark, me and my girlfriend, and so it's cool, and because I hate commercials.
Exactly.
I like, believe it or not, the show Everybody Loves Raymond. I know it's like an old farty show. I used to laugh at my father when he was alive. He'd watch that. I go, oh man, the senior citizens like this. Then I started watching that. It's hilarious. But I can't stand these commercials. And all these commercials these days, which I don't understand, about these pills, medication, if you got diabetes, take this. And then the side effects are worse than the disease. And it's like, wait, you don't sell this stuff in the store. You can go to your doctor and go, hey, I want that stuff that's on the commercial, and he's going to give it to you. But it's always the same stupid kind of commercials. After a while, I turn it off and I put Netflix on or something. I actually watched what I really love on Netflix or Prime Video is airplanes, right? They take a 747 and they bring it into the hangar every 16 years. They gut the whole thing and they check the whole plane out. Because I like flying and stuff, And it's amazing, this giant machine that they take it apart, everything, and go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I watch things like that.
That's tremendous. Disregard all of that, folks. Blue Chew is a sponsor this week, so I'm just kidding. They're not. No, that's awesome. And I actually live like 3 hours from the Lake of the Ozarks here in Missouri, and just so you know, that does not necessarily represent the thoughts or feelings of us here in this great state of Missouri. But we love the show anyway, and I love Jason Bateman. Okay, so question 2 here: what was the last show that you either played in live or attended as a fan before everything went to hell?
The last show I did was March 14th, which just squeaked by when everything closed. 14. And what I do also is I have bands in different locations, and we do a night of Sabbath music, right? And a little bit of Dio, but mainly Sabbath that I played and some old stuff. And I did it in Europe. I did a long tour. I was supposed to be in Europe now doing it, and then South America. And I do it every year. And I did a lot in Ohio. So my last show was with this band called Superstars, and we did it in Ohio at a club. But it was on the verge of, well, we don't know if we're going to get shut down. And the night before, I did a clinic at School of Rock in Cincinnati also. And that was like, are we going to be able to do it? And we just were able to do it. And I met people, there was about 250 people at the gig, and we had some VIPs, and I was just very careful to shake hands. We didn't shake hands. We just went, hello. And when they wanted something signed, I had my own pen and glove, sign it, take a picture, not too close, and nobody got sick. So that was the last show I did. And then the next day, they closed everything. So I was like, I was probably the last show in Ohio, maybe in the U.S. to play live.
That's kind of funny you bring that up. I was actually on my way to a Kiss concert March, I think 13th, when it all went down and that show got canceled. And that story you said kind of reminds me of, were you guys doing like a signing somewhere? And this is around 07, 08. And it was that crazy, that Sabbath fan shows up and he's yelling and like Geezer's got the glove on.
Oh yeah.
And he's like attacking everybody. Like that's just kind of what that reminded me of.
That was at Best Buy. I think it was in New York City.
That guy's awesome, man. I love that guy. Okay. Question 3 here. What is the first album you remember purchasing with your own money?
Album. I know what the first single was. It was the Beach Boys' "I Get Around." Right. I bought the single. First album. That might have been Jimi Hendrix, "Are You Experienced?" I believe that might have been the one. And that or Blue Cheer, a band called Blue Cheer, real heavy.
Of course. Oh yeah. Summertime
Power
Blues.
Trio. Yeah.
Final question. What is your favorite either Dio solo or Dio era Sabbath song to perform live?
Probably Heaven and Hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even on the original recording. That's Bill Ward on Heaven and Hell. A lot of people think it's me. And it's just such an epic song, big song. But there were a lot. Mob Rules is fun. Holy Diver is fun. We Rock. I got a lot of songs that I enjoy playing. But Heaven and Hell is like the epic, It's like never be forgotten, that song.
Well,
very cool.
It is indeed. And obviously, Ronnie will never be forgotten. We're thinking about him, and all of you guys, all of the Dio family kind of comes together each year, during this time. And it's just such a pleasure to think about where I was when Ronnie passed away. I was at a bar and someone texted me, and to think 10 years later, doing this interview with you, that's pretty awesome. And that shows the power of the Dio family. We're all kind of
when I first, quick tidbit, when I first met Ronnie and went down to play with Sabbath, I didn't really know any of the songs, I just heard Neon Nights on the radio. They go, "What do you want to play?" I said, "Neon Nights." So that was the first song I played with Ronnie. And 30-something years later in New Jersey, where Atlantic City, we played the Hard Rock, I think it is. And that was the last song I played with Ronnie. So
wow,
the song spanned the whole journey of music with Ronnie.
Wow, it certainly does. And Vinny, best of luck on everything. We hope that we get Last in Line back fired up. I know you guys had a bunch of live dates coming up in May, and we'll get those rescheduled. Hopefully things will get back to normal at some point here, my friend, and we'll catch you guys out there certainly at that time. Congratulations on everything, man. Thanks so much for doing this with us, and we'll have to do it again soon.
And you'll check the video out on Saturday, and everybody be safe. Thanks for having me on, including you.
Thanks, Vinny.